If you want to have an idea of what it was like, even in New York City or New York State in the early 70s, there's probably no better way than to tell you about a week's events, 1 week's event when we walked to Albany and the aftermath. So it's about probably 1971. I'm now president of the Gay Activist Alliance. There's been an effort statewide for different groups, gay groups within the state, to form coalitions to work together on the state level, which at that time would be about sodomy repeal. It was illegal for two men or two women to sexually be together. So the tactic, more than anything else, has always been and remains today, come out of the closet. As president of the Gay Activist Alliance and with others in the organization, we decided that GAA would do a walk from Times Square to the state capitol in Albany. It's about, if I remember correctly, I think it's something like 155 point something miles. And it would take us roughly a week to do so. There's about 10 or 12 of us who were doing this. The first night, we had also support staff with cars who were doing things like figuring out where the hell we were going to sleep at night, because that was not all settled before we started. We just did that as we went along. Our first night, we had accommodations in Scarsdale at a Quaker meeting house. The Quaker community, very, very early on, was a supporter of gay rights, and this was an example of it. But their meeting house was a considerable distance away from Broadway. So we find ourselves outside of a Catholic women's college. It's raining, pouring rain. We can't all get into one car. We got to ferry back and forth to where we're staying for the night. And we noticed that there's activity going on. It's in the evening, but there's activity going on in the college. Apparently they were having some sort of event. So we asked for permission to step into the lobby to stay out of the rain. They said no. They would not allow us to do that. But we saw there was like a separate building, which was restrooms. We all immediately piled into the men's restroom, and they wouldn't come after us there. It took us about a week to reach Albany. We stayed at places like Kate Millett's, who is a feminist writer and open bisexual, at her house outside of Poughkeepsie. We stayed actually at a Catholic monastery also on one night, and at Bard College at another. But while we were on our way there one day, there were some people who had kind of fallen behind a bit for whatever reason, and they were shot at near Rhinebeck, New York. So they came up and told us about this. They're pretty upset, obviously. I mean, clearly the person did not intend to hit them, otherwise he would have, all right, but nevertheless. So we decided certainly we should go make a complaint to the police. The police in that neck of the woods are the state police, and they have a barracks in Rhinebeck, New York. And so that's where they went. On presenting the complaint, they were more or less verbally thrown out of the place with the statement that you're lucky it wasn't us, we wouldn't have missed. On another occasion, we asked for permission to stay in a barn overnight, which was run by or owned by a group of what in those days was called Jesus freaks. These are young, in a sense, hippie-ish, except they're decidedly and openly Christian and into Jesus. They told us they would pray about it and get back to us. And meanwhile, we found someplace else to stay. The last we knew, they were still praying about it. I'm obviously being a little flippant here, but what the hell. Finally, we get to Albany about a day early. At the same time, we were the statewide coalition called New York State Coalition of Gay Organizations, NYSCO, was organizing a rally for the steps of the state capitol in Albany. So the idea was that's where we would meet everyone. That was our culmination. We got there a day early, so we stayed somewhere across the river because it's important to make the proper entrance, all right? So we made our entrance after the rally was going on, you know, with the crowds partying and us coming up through the middle, and me as president of the Gay Activist Alliance up to the microphone. I have no idea what I said on that day. It was just too much of a rush. We stayed overnight at various local gay activists' apartment, and went back the next day. We arrived back in New York City to learn that there had been a demonstration that evening at what was called the Inner Circle Dinner. The Inner Circle Dinner is an annual dinner held at the Hilton Hotel for politicians and journalists, and they do silly things and whatnot. But the people in charge of New York, while the president was away, had called up a demonstration because of various homophobic remarks that had been made by various politicians who were going to be at that dinner. And in the process, they got beaten up, specifically by the head of at that time, the head of the Firemen's Union by the name of Michael May, who punched out a couple of people and who threw one person, Morty Manford, of the Gay Actors Alliance, down the escalator. So I got back to New York pretty tired, but the first thing I did getting back to New York was going to a couple of different emergency rooms to see my other people. Ultimately, I mean, nobody was seriously hurt. We're talking about black eyes and whatever the medical term is, contusions or lacerations or whatever the term would be, but nobody overnight in the hospital. But again, that was the time. In 1 week's time, we're talking about being shot at. We're talking about being rejected by various people when you just want to get out of the rain. And then coming back to being beaten up and going to emergency rooms. That's what it was. I mean, that didn't happen that way every week, but that was not a surprise that such a thing should happen.